The New Flat Rate Podcast.
The New Flat Rate!
For contractors ready to boost tickets, simplify business, and gain freedom. Today we sat down with Claire Carreras. She is a franchise owner and operator for One Tom Plumber. And now, your host, me, Natalie Cope, and your co-host, Danielle Putnam.
I went to a One Tom Plumber show 2 years ago, and my counterpart, Suzanne, that went with me, this is us at the One Tom show, and they had this
awesome.
3D printer. They wanted us all 360-degree camera imaging thing for a 3D printed figurine of ourselves. And I was like, what? We got to get in line and try that. So standing in that little kiosk, I guess I should call it, getting our pictures 360 degrees was very awkward. We felt very weird.
Like, spin around and scan you, or?
Yeah, it did. It scanned us. And so afterwards, Suzanne's like, well, we have to buy it. I was like, okay. So this was us wearing our pink One Tom Plumber, which was fun. And then at the same show, we got our plunger.
Yes, the plunger. Absolutely.
We did not get tattooed. We don't have the pink plunger tattoos yet, but we do have the plunger. So
fantastic. True fans. True fans.
Welcome to the New Flat Rate Podcast. Today we're joined by Claire Carreras, franchise owner and operator at One Time Plumber. Claire, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Natalie and Danielle, it's been a pleasure to meet with you guys, and I'm just excited to have a good, fun conversation and ignore some of my responsibilities for the next hour and a half. It's going to be great.
I'm so excited to have just kind of like a regular person on the show, like not like a really big time person, just like an owner, really see the insides, especially you being a woman. I'm so excited to ask my questions.
Yeah. I'm an open book.
So I saw that you were actually a musician. Can we get into that? Really want to hear about it.
Oh dear. Yeah. I'd say former musician. I definitely have not performed professionally in quite some time, but prior to moving to America, I spent most of my adult life playing professionally, touring all around the world with my different musical acts and things. So yeah, it was kind of a lifetime ago. It kind of feels kind of crazy to, in hindsight, all through my 20s and early 30s, I couldn't picture a world where I wasn't playing music every day and touring and putting on shows and recording. And now for the last 5 years, it's just been business all day. And the switch just kind of happened so fast. And I wonder to myself, how did I get here? I have this day of business is booming and all the challenges and things that come with that, and the rewards as well, of course. But, at the end of a long week, I come home and I look at my guitars that are collecting dust, and I wonder, geez, Claire, what happened? You were going to be a rock star, what are you doing in plumbing? But the path to it was very organic, and it was right. And I certainly don't regret anything. I don't feel like, this business venture and all of this stuff has taken me away from some sort of destiny that I was meant to have. The truth of it is I had an amazing time being a musician. I loved every minute of it. I did everything I wanted to do with it, and I accomplished everything I set out to. And it was just kind of like a natural thing that was like, all right, well, what's next? And I moved to America. I moved to Texas. COVID happened. And just the world kind of kept moving forward, and naturally so did I. And here we are today. So it's, it's not like a sad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just life sometimes takes you places where you don't expect. But when you look back, you realize that that was the right path for you all along. You just had to be shown it in order to know.
So did you just play guitar? Or do you have other instruments, and did you sing as well?
I did. So I played guitar, I sang, and I played bass. And depending on the project, I would play guitar and sing. Some bands I just fronted vocally, just vocals. And then I also had a fun time playing bass and doing backup vocals in a band as well. So a little bit of everything.
I wanted to ask you, what do you love most about running the operations of a service business?
Yeah, service-based business is really exciting because you kind of, I feel like you have two different customers. You have um, obviously the homeowners or the people that you're servicing, but then you also have your team and your internal people that you need to make sure are happy, healthy, trained, comfortable in order to make this the whole circle go around, right? You can't service a customer if the people servicing them are not prepared to do that emotionally, mentally, educationally, what have you. So I feel like my role, specifically within operations and now as an owner, is to make sure that both sides of that pie are good and healthy so that they can interact appropriately, and then hopefully money comes out on the other side. So that's yeah, I'd say that's probably the most fun and exciting and also challenging part of the whole thing.
Yeah, so how do you stay motivated in all that? And then as well as keeping your team performing their best?
Good question. That's tough.
Yeah, that is a really good question. I was going to make a joke about, coffee, but no, I think I take a lot of satisfaction from building a machine and seeing it work and seeing it kind of turn an input into an output. And that might sound very, mechanical, but
Mm.
it's the reality for almost everything that I've ever done in my life. Even going back to my musician days, it was the same thing. You're building a band, you're putting a group together, a team together with the goal to produce this music or this album or whatever it is, to go do these shows and hopefully win customers and win, people's interest in you enough to keep coming to the shows and keep spending money with you and putting on a great act. So it's kind of the same machine, right, just applied in a different way. And I love it. Like I absolutely love building something and then being able to step back and watch the machine kind of run on its own and satisfy its customer base and grow and kind of take on a life of its own. So I think the motivation for me is just working up to that end goal of being able to have a business or a machine or whatever you want to call it that works. And there's people in it that are also getting things out of it. And there's people on the other end that are receiving the service and enjoying it and hopefully coming back to enjoy the service over and over again. It's so satisfying to me. I have no problem waking up every day and putting everything I have into this. Last night I didn't go home until like 8:30, and that was a chill day. You know what I mean? But it's the goal, and I'm kind of a bit of a psycho. I set insane goals for myself that are barely achievable, and it's a bit of a sickness. But I really like to aim high. I like to aim high and just see how close to the stars I can get, and holding a little bit of space for myself if I don't make it all the way up. But I feel like if I set the goal really, really high, even if I get like 95 or way there, that's still like excellent. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of happiness that I can take from that. So yeah.
So many times I can't help but to dive in here too. I love how you describe the machine because so many times people have said, why did you want to be an entrepreneur? Why are you in business? Or what did you want to be, when you were younger? What did you want to be when you grew up? And I would always say, "Oh, I wanted to be in business. I like to build and I like to build." But the way you described it as this machine and it's growing and it's changing and watching it actually produce and work is really great for putting some finesse and structure around, even in my mind. Like, what do you mean I want to be a builder in business? Like what is that, right? But it's
Yeah.
that thing, that drive. And I don't know if you listen to Alex Hermosi, but Alex Hermosi says, show me your team and I'll show you your future. And so whether the team and what you're building, I do think that is one of the hardest, and you've kind of referenced this, one of the hardest pieces of running a business is
Absolutely.
actually getting the team to build this machine and to work together in one direction. And in the moments where everything's smooth sailing, it's like awesome. And then we were sitting at a table yesterday, Natalie and I, and one of our other coworkers, And they're like, "Hey, are we doing anything for Halloween, a costume party?" And we looked at each other. We're like, "Oh, well, that used to be so and so's job, but so and so isn't here anymore."
Mm.
And since so and so isn't here anymore, like, no, I guess that doesn't happen anymore, right? And so even I know this is a long way to kind of chime in here, but it's like you've got this great team and you're rowing in the same direction, but any change to the team to be able to have systems in place so that you don't hit those hiccups of, oh, we used to park our trucks like this. We used to clean them out every day. We used to greet
Right.
the customer like this, but then so and so who used to train us on that left, and now it's all changed, right? So
Mhm, mhm.
it's a ever an
Yeah,
ever
it's
moving
forever.
yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, yeah, you got to keep putting oil in the machine. You got to keep, feeding the machine, and the machine changes, the
Mhm.
terrain changes, the
Yes.
seasons change, and it's kind of forever. It's kind of crazy, like it's kind of terrifying when you actually think about it that way, because it's like, oh, this is forever, like you gotta keep putting stuff into this machine, otherwise
Yeah.
it's just gonna fall apart and go off the rails. But I don't know. It's kind of, again, it's kind of a crazy way to think of things, but it's exciting.
It
And I
is.
like that. Yeah.
Fun. And then there's different versions of the machine and of the
Yeah,
engine. It's like, oh, this is engine 2.0 and it's faster than
exactly.
engine 1.0 and it's
Exactly.
I like that. I know Natalie's got some really great questions. This might already be in here, but I did want to ask, like it was so organic for you moving from being a worldwide musician to a business owner in home services, but was there any kind of a moment where there was an opportunity, a knock, a hey, do you want to start a plumbing company? Like that's so separated.
Mhm.
How did that
Yeah.
happen?
I mean, it certainly didn't go straight from, I didn't roll out of the tour van right into business
Yeah.
ownership in a home services. There were definitely some steps in between. Um, and again, it was such a wild ride. It's not, I could never have predicted this is how the last 5 years of my life were going to go. Like, if you had told me, 5 or 6 years ago, like, oh yeah, you're going to be owning a one-Tom plumber franchise, and you're going to have all this experience in emergency restoration, and you're going to be a business owner, I would have been like, what are you on? Like this, in what world? That doesn't even make any sense. But now that I'm here and I kind of look back, it's like, well, actually, every step that
Mhm.
I've taken over really the last 10 years has in fact led me to this. I just didn't know it yet.
Yeah, that's really
So
encouraging, actually.
yeah, yeah. And, I'm one of those people that always really tries to grab life, really hard and try to force my path and be like, I think I need to go this way. And I would just ram myself in that direction, even if it, wasn't coming very easily and naturally. And what I've found, just in getting older and wiser, I guess, is, it's that story about sometimes the door you're not looking at is the door that's open.
Mm,
And you owe it to yourself to just take a look inside and see what's there.
yeah,
Because it's the world trying to show you the direction to go, even if it's not the one that you thought was the right one for you, it might be the best one for you.
yeah,
So, I mean, in between living in Canada, being a musician, doing what I was doing, to now here in Austin, Texas, being a business owner, there were a lot of steps along that road. So it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to narrow it down a little bit. Basically, what happened is I immigrated to America. The visa type that I took required that I stay in my home country until the immigration was processed, basically, and it would involve anywhere from 6 months to a year of just waiting for the paperwork to kind of process. And then once that's processed, I would have had to fly to Montreal to go to an immigration meeting where they would basically say, yes, this is the person, she has good intentions, all right, stamped, you're now eligible to go live and work in America. So during that 6 months to a year where we were waiting for the paperwork to process, I was living in Canada. My husband was already living here in Austin,
wow,
Texas, and we were doing the long distance thing, just waiting for the paper to land. And it wasn't coming, and it wasn't coming. And I happened to get laid off from where I was currently working. and it was just about time for South by Southwest. Huge thing, right? I'm super into music. My husband's like, well, you're laid off. Like, why don't you just come down here for a month? We'll hang out, catch up, get to spend some FaceTime. We can go to South by, we can have a great time. It's almost Valentine's Day. It was also almost his birthday. So come hang out for a month and then go back and look for a job and we'll just keep waiting kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, awesome. So I come over and literally 2 weeks later, the whole world shut down with COVID and they closed the border. So now I'm stuck in America. I can't go back to Canada. If I do go back to Canada, I risk a lot of things, right? If things go poorly for my husband while he's here, he has no support. I'm stuck in Canada. I can't go back and forth. And I can't stay in America because I'm not legally allowed to. But at the time, nobody knew how COVID was going to unfold. We figured, it'll be, a couple weeks and the whole thing will blow over and it'll be fine. Of course, that's not how that happened. And then when Canada shut the border down, then I started really panicking. So I'm like, well, if I can't go back and now I'm in this legal issue, kind of like a purgatory of I'm a floating non-person. So it was really scary. So anyways, we got a hold of our lawyers and they recommended basically that we redo our visa application for this other type of visa that would allow me to stay legally in America while I wait. I'm not allowed to work, but I'm allowed to be on American soil and wait. And that saved me from having to go back to Canada and potentially just getting locked out and estranged from my husband for who knows how long.
Right.
So we thought, okay, great. That sounds wonderful. We'll process this. And then, because we were still under the impression that, it was going to be a few months and then the whole thing would blow over. And of course, we know that was, a year and a half of nothing. So now I'm stuck in America. My husband, unfortunately, did lose his job because he was in the service industry due to COVID. So now we have no income. I'm not legal to work anywhere. And time is just going and going and going. And it's just me and him. I have no family down here. We didn't have any friends. Like it was just, what are we going to do? And the whole immigration process. So we had paid to expedite the second round of immigration paperwork. But of course, government just stopped. So none of my paperwork was being processed. So we were just like in a weird limbo and I was waiting and I waited for, I think it ended up being like a year and a bit of just waiting and waiting and waiting. And it was dark times, real dark times, because we were so broke. We were on the verge of being evicted multiple times.
Yeah.
I'm talking like we were like foraging for food. Like it was bad. It was dark times.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, this is raw. This is life. Tell us more.
Yeah, it was crazy. And it was just me and him kind of trying to figure out how to stay alive until something changed and something happened. So anyways, a lot of time passed. We managed to survive. And then finally my paperwork came through. And so, I was legal, I could work. And at that point in time, my priority was, okay, like we need to dig ourselves out of debt because it was bad. I didn't have access to credit in America. I didn't have a bank account here. I had access to my Canadian accounts, but I mean, there's no money in there. So we were just racking up debt just to stay alive.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm finally legal. Hallelujah. We're hanging on by like the very, very last thread. It literally could not have come a day later or I would have jumped off a bridge. Like it was that bad. So now I'm in this kind of like panic mode of like, I have to get a job, any job. I need to find a way to make as much money as I can as fast as possible to stop the bleeding and try to recover. But at this point, of course, now it's been a year and a half. I have this huge gap in my resume. All my references are from another country.
Yep.
Nobody would give me a shot. Nobody would hire me. Nobody would even bring me in for an interview. And of course, we're still doing Zoom interviews at this time because all the COVID stuff. And so I'm trying everything I can do to get a job. Nobody's taking a chance on me until some fella who owned an emergency restoration company got my resume. And I mean, I was just blanketing resumes. I'm just like, literally, like anyone, somebody, please, like, give me a job. So I sent one to them, and they actually looked at it and they booked me for an interview. And I did an interview with them, and he kind of liked what he saw. And he said, all right, well, come on in for an in-person interview. And
Yep.
I was still so new to the area where I was living, I didn't realize that they were in Spicewood and I was in North Austin, which is like an hour and 45 minutes with traffic just to get there. I didn't even realize, but I was so desperate. I was like, yes, I'll go.
Yeah.
I spent the last $50 that we had between us
Oh.
to get an Uber because I didn't even have a car. I didn't have a license. But the last $50 we had to get an Uber to go to this job interview, I thought I did great during the interview. I was really hoping to walk out of there with a job. And he said, no, I need to think about it. And I kind of just leveled with him. I'm like, look, man, like, I literally spent the last money I had to come interview here. I'm not even sure how I'm going to get back. Like, if you would just really consider me and just know that if you do hire me, I will do everything I can to make sure you're successful and you achieve the goals that you're looking to achieve. Like, I can do it. Believe in me. And he was like, all right. And then I didn't hear from him for like 3 weeks. And then 3 weeks later, he called me and he was like, all right, I'm going to give you the job. I was like, oh my God, because what a risk this guy took on me. I didn't even know what mitigation meant. I'd never heard emergency restoration. I didn't even know the job I was applying for. I just knew that I needed this job and I can make any machine work. Just give me a machine. You know what I mean? So thank God he took a chance on me. And I went and I got my license like that week. I didn't have a car still. We couldn't buy a car because I don't have access to credit. So he was nice enough to lend me a company car that I could drive to get to do the work. And I busted my butt for this guy. I mean, I gave it everything I had. I started out in kind of like an admin reception role. Within 3 months, I was the mitigation manager. I was running that whole division. And then another month and a half later, I took over their contents division as well. And I mean, I just gave it everything I had. And he was like, wow, this is a good hire. This girl can do it. She can do all the things she said she can do. And I learned the industry and I started to get really familiar with home services, especially from the emergency perspective. And so it was all brand new to me. And it came out of this crisis of this necessity of like, I can't fail. I have to be amazing at this job.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like this is all hanging on my ability to recover some funds. So anyways, kind of circling back around, my dreams and ambitions and hobbies and, playing music and having all this fun and traveling all around was great and awesome. But my whole life just shifted to, all right, like you need to grow up, you need to take life way more seriously, and you need to find a way to make like a real living. Music is fun and awesome and you can survive on it. But we're in it's grown-up land now. You need to find a way to buy a car and to afford this rent and to do all the things that you need to do in life, and you need to do it as fast as possible because you're running out of time. So yeah, that's kind of how I ended up in home services. And then from there it was just kind of opportunities just kept coming to me. Through that one individual that had hired me, word kind of got around to his peers that there's this girl, Claire from Canada, who's incredible and she can just build anything if you give her the resources. And word got around and I got offered another opportunity at a different restoration company. And I went and did that for a little while. And then somebody else came knocking and was like, hey, I've got this pool cleaning and repair company that's kind of fallen apart. Like, do you think you could do that? And I said, well, yeah, I think I can. So I jumped in and did that for a while and, fixed up the business, made it profitable again, built out the team. We did so well with it. He was actually able to sell it and exit. And then he was like, all right, well, geez, do you want to do what you did with the pool company over here with my restoration business I also had? I want to scale it. I want to grow it. I want to move into a bigger facility. I want to start offering contents as well as the restoration and mitigation. And I was like, yeah, I can probably do that. So then I did that and we scaled the whole thing up. We went from a little tiny roll-up space and this little tiny office to a giant 20,000 square foot facility. I built out the contents division. We have a whole team now that just runs itself. We got a second warehouse next to the first one. I mean, we went from like, it was like 5 million to like 12 in a year and a half. And then I was like, all right, well, geez, what next? All right, I did all the things I said I was going to do. What's
In a
next?
short amount of time. We're still talking under 5 years from today.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
And I remember when I sat down with him, and I was like, all right, like what are your goals? What do you want to do in the next year, 2 years, 3 years? And he kind of gave me the mile high vision, and I said, all right, I think I can do that, in a year. And he's like, no, that's not realistic. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm crazy. So I'm gonna try to do it in a year, and just watch. And sure enough, a year and a half later, we had kind of checked off all the boxes. I guess the big flaw with that though is I tend to work myself out of work, because if I do my job perfectly, then the owner can exit or sell or what have you. Eventually there's nothing left for me to run because it's running itself. So I kind of had worked myself back into that position of like, okay, well, now what? We've built all the things that we wanted to build together. And he was actually the one that put One Tom on my radar. He could see that I was incredibly ambitious, and at some point I was probably going to want to either go out on my own and do my own business, or just find another business that needed my help, and I would go do that. And he really wanted to keep me around. We really liked working together. And there's a lot of trust that we had built over the short amount of time that we've been working together. And he had listened to a podcast actually where Rocky, the founder of One Tom Plumber, was speaking about how they added this emergency plumbing business to their restoration company and all the doors that opened. So he was like, hey, like I think there's something to this. Like, would you like to look into it with me just to explore it? And at first I was like, what, plumbing? Like, what do I know about plumbing? Like, this just seems so left field for like the direction that we were originally going. But I entertained it. I listened to the podcast as well. We both flew down Ohio to meet with Rocky and Cameron and kind of learn more about the franchise and the business and how it all works. And I was like, oh, okay, I see it. I get it. This makes sense. And then my ex-employer basically said, here's what I want, Claire. I want to partner with you on this new franchise, and I want you to run it. And I said, all right, here's my opportunity to have, my legacy, something with my name on it. And it's, again, I would never have been able to come up with the initial capital to do this on my own at this point in my life, right? Like, I'm still coming out of all this COVID craziness and the immigration and the debt, and like, and it was just kind of handed to me on a golden platter. And thank goodness, like just having somebody that believed in me, 5 years ago, and how that has led to where I am now, to having this opportunity to be in business for myself with an amazing partner. And yeah, so here we are, but again, like, I could not have predicted any of that stuff. I couldn't have made any of that stuff happen. It just came out of the situation that we were all in. And just my willingness to make the most out of whatever door was open for me. And here I am now. Yeah.
Wow.
I love the story.
Amazing. That was such a roller coaster. I feel like I was watching a movie.
It was a lot. It was a lot. And there was just endless uncertainty and not knowing where I'm going or what the next thing is going to be. And that was really new for me.
Yeah.
a bit of a control freak. You know, I always had, okay, this is my plan. These are the steps that I'm going to take to get to the goal that I have so clearly envisioned. And if that doesn't work, I've got a contingency plan and I've got a plan C and a plan D and, you know, all of this stuff. And then COVID happened, my whole life turned upside down, and all of a sudden I have no plan. I have no goal. I can't see the future clearly at
Mhm.
all. I have no roadmap to follow anymore. And you just kind of have to sit back and just trust in the universe to show me something, and then trust in myself
Yeah.
that I'll be able to take that and make the most out of it and
Mm.
be happy with it. That's the real test is, can you be happy with what's given to you? Can it be enough for
Yeah.
you? And yeah, worked out. Thank goodness.
We say all the time, happiness is a choice, and sometimes
Mhm.
it's harder than others. But a couple things I love that you said. The one is the risk you took with your last $50 to take that Uber ride. That is so hard in life, but the payout for pushing forward and admitting,
Mm,
listen, mister, I just did this. I think a lot of times opportunities are lost in miscommunication because we
mm,
don't let people know the risk that we took to get there. And so the
yeah.
fact that you actually were honest and clearly communicated how willing you were to do well for them is important. And I wish more people could do that. That's so strong. So thanks for sharing that. And then the
Thank
other
you.
thing
Yeah.
that I thought that was so cool too is right now, as the owner operator of One Tom Plumber in Austin, having this business partner, what a beautiful thing. And so I just wanted to point that out to encourage everybody that, business ownership has all different shapes, sizes, and colors. And it's so neat if we can just be creative and look at the resourcefulness of who do we know and what can we do together. And even
Mhm.
the New Flat Rate, when we started it, it was my dad's idea. My dad's like, hey, let's do this. I always wanted to run a company, but I didn't have the idea. I didn't know how to start the company and do it. But when he says, hey, let's do this, then to your point, I'm like, oh, I can build that. Okay, cool, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
finding a partner in life, if that's what you need to build things with and sharpen each other, iron
Totally.
iron. It's so neat what can come out of that when you take risks, and relationships are so important.
Yeah, it really is, you know, and again, like I feel like when I was younger, I was very much, you know, lone wolf attitude. It
Mhm.
was like, okay, I've got my plan and no one's going to stop me. And I'm going here and I'm going by myself because I can't trust anyone or I can't count on it or whatever, you know, my mentality was. And that shift that I've gone through, I'm so grateful for because you can't do things by yourself in life.
No. Yeah.
And you have to be able to trust other people and you need that support. And you know, you do need to find the right people, but if you're not looking, you're not gonna see it, and you're not gonna see those opportunities to collaborate and build something. It's so much more exciting and rewarding to build something with someone else
Mhm.
than it is to try to do it all by yourself.
Mm.
It can be so lonely. Like imagine if I was, you know, a band of one person, how lonely and challenging and scary that would be at the end of each night when you get off stage, whether you put on a good show or not, you're just there alone with yourself and your thoughts. It's obviously way more fun when you have bandmates and we're all in it together, and you know, we're enjoying the highs and suffering during the lows, and when we get off that stage, whether we had a good performance or not, we're together and we get to,
Yes.
like, you know, talk about it, and tomorrow's a new day and we're going through it together. So
Yeah, that's so true. It is funner together. And anytime you're anybody listening in, when you're ever frustrated with your coworkers or your team, just a great reminder that it is. We have a team member right now that, as we're recording today, it's the end of the month. Tomorrow is the last day of the month. And she is so close to hitting her monthly goal for the first time ever. And
oh,
so everybody here knows it. Everybody knows she's going full force. And I'm just like, hand her more coffee because she's not stopping until she reaches her goal. And so yesterday, when she'd come out of her office, she's like, I just did such and such. We were like two claps and a Ric Flair. Woo! And we're all, we're like, her name's Sky. And so we're all cheering Sky on. And it's so much more energy in the office because I don't have a goal that I have to hit today. Natalie doesn't have a goal
Yeah.
but we all know Sky does. And
Mhm.
so like we all came in this morning, we're like, okay, Sky, today's the day. Today's
Today's the
the
day.
day. But to your point, like being able to have that camaraderie together makes going to work so much more fun.
For sure. And the memories you build that way, it's you don't really build memories by yourself.
Mm, I
If
like
you
that.
think back to like your greatest memories and your greatest things, there was almost always somebody there with you enjoying that moment or being a part of that memory in that moment. So, doing everything alone is you're not really building the same kind of memories, I think. And trust me, I mean, there's definitely been days, like especially back in our touring days, where I just wanted to kill everybody on the tour bus. And I hate our drummer today, and our lead singer, man, screw this guy. Like, and you go through all of these emotions with everybody, but at the end of the day, when things have gone well, I mean, we're all besties again, and we're celebrating together. And the ups and the downs are what make it exciting and what make it memorable and that help you grow. You feel like you gotta have that. And there's pros and cons, you know what I mean? Like there's definitely some days where I'm like, man, I wish I didn't have to deal with any of you guys and I was just here by myself because I know I would get it done right, or I would do the thing or whatever it is. But again, like there's not as much joy in that. I
Hmm.
think.
I agree with you. And just like you described the machine, building the machine,
Mm.
it takes all the people to be the machine. And so you got to
Yeah,
figure it out. You're either going to
you
figure
gotta
out
figure
how
it
to work
out.
with people now, or you're going to have to figure out later in life. Might as well do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Your story
yeah.
really like reminded me of the American dream. Like you
Mm.
came to this country and you really you lived the American dream. You had the struggle. It's like rags to riches.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
everyone
100%. Like
loves the underdog.
literally, this is my American dream. And
Yeah.
and I thank goodness I'm one of the ones that made it because like it could have gone and at any point, anything could have totally just the story could have turned out way different. So again, I'm just so grateful that everything happened the way that it did. And I had enough life experience to recognize when I'm being given opportunities and to have the bravery and the vulnerability to admit, hey, here's where I'm at in my life. Here's why I really need this opportunity. Like, will you give me the chance to show you, to prove to you my worth and my value? And yeah, I can't, I just, I lay awake sometimes thinking about how I've gotten here and all of the people who empowered me and enabled me to be where I am right now. Because
Mhm.
that's really the kicker. A lot of people will look at my story and be like, oh wow, like she's incredible, she's amazing, she's so strong. It's like, well, it really actually didn't have that much to do with me. It was all the people that I encountered along the way that helped me and gave me the chance and opened the door. Without any one of them along the way, this isn't how the story would have worked out for me. And I put a lot of thought into that, and I put a lot of energy into just being grateful for that because man, it was so dark, you guys. Like it was really, really dark times. And we didn't think we were gonna make it.
Yeah.
And it came down to the day. Like my first paycheck, I'm gonna cry. My first paycheck was gonna come the day after our rent was due. And we were already on our third chance of being late with rent.
Mhm.
They were gonna kick us out and we would have had nowhere to go. And my boss fronted me my first check so that I could pay my rent on time.
Oh,
And yeah, and this is someone that had known me for maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. It's so awesome. And
Yes.
it's hard as a business owner too, because you're like, you just started with me and you're already asking me for favors. But
Mhm.
to be human, that's what I love about home services is I feel like we have so many human business owners that
Yeah.
really care about their people.
Mhm.
And that's why they hate so bad when we have to have team turnover and we lose people. It's because like we wanted it to work more than you did, sometimes.
Yes.
It's like
Oh
we
man.
believed in you. We wanted it to work and we want it to. And so I love your boss for that so
Yeah.
much. And
Yeah.
you for
Thank
being
goodness.
vulnerable enough to let him know you needed it. That's
Mhm.
so hard.
I know. And like that could have gone either way, you know, being that vulnerable with strangers or with people who like literally hold your fate in their hands
Yeah.
is really hard. I mean, that's not something that I was comfortable doing. Like I was very much, you know, lone wolf, closed door, don't let anybody in, don't let them see you struggle or suffer. And I'm so proud of myself for allowing myself to be that vulnerable
Yeah.
because again, otherwise the whole thing would have worked out a lot differently. And
Mhm.
yeah, thank goodness. But man, you need that compassion and you need that vulnerability to be in home services, I believe, if you want
Yeah.
to be good at it, because you have to care about your customer and you have to recognize that your customer is you. You know, you're we're all people living our lives, just trying to get through each day with all of our struggles and family and debts and like we're all the same, you know, and we all need help. And home services exists to help people.
Mhm.
And it's easy to lose sight of that, especially when you're in an emergency based industry where stress is really high, emotions are really high. Not
Mhm.
everybody is delightful and rosy. You know, it's not working at the spa. You know, we're dealing with people that have gone through a very traumatic experience and are probably taking it out on you a little bit. And you
Yes.
have to hold that space to be like, you
Yes.
know what? We're all people. If I was in this scenario, I might also be reacting in this way. How can I help? Even if this person is making it really hard for me to help, you have to stay grounded in that humanity. And the same for your internal team, too. We're all people. We're all people who have to work to make a living, to do the things that we need to for ourselves, for our family, for our future. Um,
Mhm.
and everybody has a choice about where and how they're going to go out there into the world and make their living. And they don't have to work with me. They don't have to work for you. You know, everybody has that choice. How can I make this place a place where people want to be,
Yeah.
and a place where they can get the things that they need to live their ultimate life, because nobody lives to work. You shouldn't live to work. It's just a means to an end, right? So trying to create a space where people can get what they need, they can enjoy being here for the time that they have to be here, and then they can go home and do the things that they actually want to do with
Yeah.
the money that they were able to make. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the goal, right? And it's hard to keep that perspective sometimes, but
Mhm.
it's ultimately what's going to make you successful or not, I think, as a business owner.
Mhm.
I've always thought the blue collar industry like were like hidden big softies. Like they have to look like they are have a hard shell and everything. But really, if you just let them know what's going on with you, they are always like there to support you and help you and just show love to you. And
Mhm.
I love this industry. I've always loved it.
Yeah, it's hard days though. Holy smokes! I mean, we had a customer just this morning who like I'm just like, all right, just put it down. Effective. All right, what's the best thing that I can do for this person today?
Mhm.
And that's all you can do. That's all you have to
Mhm.
focus on. Otherwise, it's gonna eat you alive, man.
Yeah. It's tough. And then, so I like that. What's the best thing that I can do for them today? And then
Mhm.
also setting boundaries and protecting your team too, right? That is so tough.
Home services and the trades in general. I think there's a really high burnout rate
Yeah.
because people naturally will kind of take their day home with them. And it's really hard to make everybody happy, and it's really hard to convince everybody why this bill costs this much or why you have to proceed with the work in this way. And you're constantly kind of having to push and pull, and it's very taxing. um, and you have to remind your team, like, did you do everything that you could today to try to make everybody happy? Yes. Did you make every single person happy? Maybe not, but you can't take that part home with you. You have to be comfortable and confident in that you did your very best today. And tomorrow, even if you only do 1% better, you're still moving forward in the right direction. So you kind of just have to keep that in mind. And I have to remind my team all the time, like, our dispatcher had a terrible day yesterday. I mean, it was just absolute chaos for her. And, you know, I had to take a moment at the end of the day and say, hey, you know what? You did the best that you could today. Tomorrow's another day. I don't want you to go home and spend all your spare time thinking about all the things that went wrong today. It's not gonna serve you.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. You have to just acknowledge, hey, you did the best you could today. Tomorrow's another day. Even if tomorrow is 1% better, you're moving in the right direction. You need to be happy with that and you need to embrace that. Otherwise, it's going to eat you alive.
I really wanted to get into the secret of opening a franchise. Like, what does the franchise model look like? How does the licensing fee and structure work? Do you get any support in return from the franchise? Like, what does support look like?
Yeah. So franchises are magical things. So you kind of hear two different stories when people talk about franchises. They either talk about how, you know, it's terrible and it's you got to pay all these royalties and like blah 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 blah, or you hear the other side where it's, oh, it's great and we've got this great network of people. And you know, franchises kind of you get two sides of the coin. I mean, for me, what I found really really attractive specifically about One Tom Plumber is that the founders had been in it and did it and like, you know, did it from the ground up. So they're not fools, you know, they didn't just come up with an idea and are selling me an idea that they haven't actually lived. So that was really nice. It's super wonderful to have a support system built in, you know, especially coming from like what I came from,
Yeah.
like in seeing the value in having other people there to help support you when you're going through, you know, a startup phase is incredible. And all the other owners and GMs are wonderful people. They've vetted their people really, really well. It's a great group of people who I know I can pick up a phone and I can call and say, hey, here's what I'm struggling with today. Like, have you experienced this? How did you overcome this? And everybody's really there for each other, which I value so much, especially now in hindsight, knowing how rare that is and how important it is, especially when you're just starting out with something new. And it's very much like a business in a box, right? You know, people buy into franchises because there's some sort of system and process that's already there. You don't have to make it from scratch, which was new for me because my career has been, you know, coming into essentially dumpster fires and then having to rework them and fix them and kind of start over and build them back up. So it was really, really nice and kind of refreshing to have like, okay, we're going to start with a clean slate.
Yeah.
And here's, you know, your business in a box. Here's kind of the systems and processes that we recommend. And here's how this should look. And here's your goals. And so it was really nice to have that blueprint and
Yeah.
not have to be kind of making it up. You know what I mean? So I love that part of it. I was maybe a little bit, not skeptical, but a little bit concerned about joining a franchise because I really didn't have a lot of experience working in other franchises.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of have it, the fear that it's going to feel really corporatey or restrained or in some way like someone else has like, you know, ownership over everything that you're building and they have the ultimate say, but it really wasn't like that at all. You know, they give you all the guidelines, they give you all the information and the stuff that they have that they know works, and they say, all right,
Yeah.
you know, but ultimately it is your business, you know. Here,
Mhm.
this is what we recommend, and here's how we can support you with this.
Yeah.
But you know, ultimately, whether you're going to be successful or not is on you. So I've really enjoyed it so far. You know, yes, there's royalties. Yes, there's, you know, confines that I do have to work within, but that's any job. You know, you
Yes.
gotta everywhere. You gotta pay the tax to somebody.
At least you
You know
know
what
what those are though too, which is
I mean?
nice, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Not
exactly.
undefined. You know what it is. I
Mhm.
like that. That's a good question because it's good to know that.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
a marketing side, like you didn't have to come up with a logo. You don't literally
Yeah.
don't even really need marketing because people know One Tom Plumber. I think
That's right. And that is another thing that they do include as part of, if you join in as a franchise, is they have great marketing already in place. They have a whole team that I can leverage. I don't have to build a website from
Yeah.
scratch or figure out my social media or the logo and the branding and the slogans. Like, they have that part so down, and they put a ton of money and market research into making sure that the brand and the way that One Tom Plumber is being presented works and converts and people remember it. And that's invaluable. If nothing else, even if I was just buying that puts me years ahead of
Yeah.
what it would have been if I had tried to start it from scratch.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
You literally don't
absolutely.
even have to think about it. You don't have to stress about it. That's
Yeah. I love it.
so
Yeah.
easy. I wanted to ask you, what does a typical day in your life look like? Going to the office, like managing, like on the business side. I wanna know about it, about your day.
Oh, geez. I mean, I wake up. I wake up, I check all my emails for anything kind of 911. I get ready, I get my plan together, I get to the office, and then I throw my whole plan out the window because the day it just goes, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be. Um, it's been pretty chaotic because I mean we're still very much in the startup phase. So
Yeah.
One Tom Austin has only been officially open for, as of tomorrow, 4 months. So we're still,
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, still very, very new. And as a startup, I made the choice to wear a lot of hats going into this.
Mhm.
So, I was the GM, I was the operations manager, I'm the owner. I was the accountant, I was the
Yeah.
dispatcher even for a while. So, as time has gone on and I've been able to, put different people in different places, it's definitely gotten a little bit easier. Most recently, just 2 weeks ago, we did some internal restructuring, and I now have an official GM in place.
Cool.
So it's been another shift now of, okay, I can let go of these tasks and I can focus more on, more ownership wheel stuff. Okay, how do we look at the data that we now have and start to make some strategic choices
Mm-hmm.
and plan for the future? Okay, and how do we scale, and how do we get our numbers up? And it's allowed me the opportunity to kind of step back and not be in the day-to-day of the business, which
Mm-hmm.
is really where I thrive. That's really where I've spent the most time professionally. But it's time for me to put my owner hat on and
Yeah.
step out of that and look at the business from a global perspective and make sure that I'm driving this thing in the right direction. So it's been a big shift over the last 2 weeks. I, obviously have a responsibility to all the stakeholders to make sure that this thing is successful and that it does grow, at the speed that we set it out to, and that everything works. But also, I mean, I got into this making a very active, conscious choice to, like, hey, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it the best.
Yeah.
I want to be the absolute best that I can be, and I want to build the best team, and I want to offer the best service, and I want to change how people in Austin think about plumbing, and I want to be the best. And it's super ambitious, of course, but now is the time to really work on that part. Okay, how do we become the best, and in what ways are we not achieving that, and how do we get there? And kind of switching gears in my brain from being in the business and managing and the operations and the processes to, okay, now just be the owner, figure out what we need to do to be the best, and make sure that we're always driving in that direction. So that's, I think, my newest challenge, and what I'm going to be working on through the rest of this last quarter
Mm-hmm.
is, really making sure that I'm transitioning into that owner mentality and making sure that I'm driving the bus in the right direction at the right speed.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any like core value words in your company?
Yeah, we have a lot. Well, the franchise, of course, comes with
Oh, okay.
some
It
core
comes
values baked in, which are again really nice to just have that
really nice.
jumping off board. But I think we just say it a lot that we're here to be the best, and that's been consistent from day one. When I hired my production team, it was a part of each interviewing process. It was like, hey, I want to be the best. I
Yeah.
want to build this thing to be with the intent of being the best. Do you want to join me on this journey? Do you want to be the best with me? And, making choices to hire the people that see that and want to join me on this crazy adventure of trying to be the very, very best. It's a really competitive market here in Austin. There's a lot of other plumbing companies, and it's a super ambitious kind of insane thing to say, hey, I'm going to be the best.
Oh, I'm
But
excited to
we got to
watch you do
try.
it. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited to watch you do it. This
Yeah.
is good.
Well, thanks, guys.
Well, where can everyone find you? Is there something we can help you promote?
I guess if you're in Austin and you want to come check us out, we have a wonderful office warehouse. Uh, I don't really have anything specific to promote. Oh, actually, that's not true. I do have some wonderful things to promote. So, we recently put a couple of our lead plumbers through some kind of specialized training, which we're really excited about. We have one individual who can now do the backflow prevention testing and repair, which is something really, unique, I think, and being able to offer that as well as all of our other services. It's again, I'm trying to think of in terms of being the best. I think that being able to be a one-stop shop and kind of a turnkey solution for people is a part of being the best.
Yeah.
So when you call One Tom Plumber, not only can we help you with your plumbing needs, not only can we do drains, not only can we do excavation and tunneling and repiping, not only can we help you with water damage and restoration and mold mitigation, but we can also help commercial spaces and residential with their backflow preventers, which are, it's an annual test. It has to pass. It's a very important function. Most people don't realize if your backflow preventer is not working, you're not safe. Like you can die. Like it's a very serious thing. And not only can we test it, but we can also repair it. So we really just want to be that one-stop shop. How can we take care of you wholly and fully and as completely as possible? So we're really excited to be offering that service now. We also put one of our plumbers through sonar leak detection training, and we have all of that specialized equipment now as well. So if you have some kind of mystery leak, if you've got a slab leak, you've got a leak in the yard somewhere that you can't find, we have the tools and the training and the equipment to be able to help you with that as well.
Sarah, thank you so much for sharing all your insights. This was such a good episode. And to everyone listening, we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
If you want to learn more about the new flat rate, go to TheNewFlatRate.com. If you want to learn more about One Tom Plumber, go to OneTomPlumber.com.